Welcome to Leaping Larry's Revolutionary Reading Theatre.
Well, thank you very much, Baked. Very much appreciate that, comrade. Alright, so today we are going to be reading from Jong on the fundamentals of revolutionary party building, which is really a look and an analysis at the reasons and lessons of overthrow of USSR and socialism in Eastern Europe in general. So this should be hopefully very informative read for us all. Jong on the fundamentals of revolutionary party building, a treatise written on the occasion of the 47th anniversary of the foundation of the Workers' Party of Korea, October 10th, 1992. We have three parts to this work. We have the historical lessons in building a government party under socialism. We have the basic principles of building a Juche revolutionary party. And we have the internationalist unity and solidarity of revolutionary parties for part 3. Enjoy. Safeguarding and developing the socialist cause is the most important task now facing revolutionary parties and peoples. Although it is undergoing trials, socialism is, as ever, the objective of the struggle of the revolutionary parties as well as the aspiration of progressive people. This is shown clearly by the fact that many revolutionary parties throughout the world have signed the declaration which was adopted in Pyongyang in April this year. The Declaration for Safeguarding and Promoting the Socialist Cause. How the socialist cause is promoted depends on how the party which leads this cause is built, and how its leading role is enhanced. The history of the struggle for socialism can be called the history of building the working class party, and of its activities. The whole course of the bloody struggle of the working class and other sections of the working masses for socialism shows that the key to victory lies in party building and party activities, and that the failure has its causes in party building and party activities. Now that the revolutionary parties have adopted the Pyongyang Declaration as their common fighting program and are undertaking a fresh struggle for socialism, it is extremely important to conduct a correct review of the historical experience and lessons of party building. Such a review is also a pressing matter in enabling our officials and party members to heighten their vigilance against all the attempts of the class enemies who are bent on destroying the revolutionary party of the working class, to strengthen the party steadily and to enhance its leading role, and thus to continue to promote the socialist cause vigorously. The historical lessons in building a government party under socialism. The setback faced... Oh wait, hold on. I forgot to do one thing. Post this at the top for anybody who comes in and would like a link to what we're reading. The setback faced by socialism in a number of countries is a serious lesson for us. Here, it is particularly important for us to understand clearly why parties that had guided the socialist cause through arduous struggles for many decades collapsed so quickly. That is important because party leadership is vital to the socialist cause. Socialist society is an advanced society that represents the popular masses' desire for independence. And humanity's advance towards socialism is the trend of historical development. The tide of humanity's history towards socialism is guided by the working class party. And the progress of socialist society requires that the working class party should be developed and strengthened steadily. The collapse of socialist ruling parties and socialism's return to capitalism in some countries in recent years can be considered as abnormal, passing phenomena in the light of the general trend of human history. What time is it? Time to get juche! Hey, the collapse of parties which had been building socialism was an abnormal occurrence, also in the view of the circumstances and conditions for party building and party activities. The circumstances and conditions for party building and party activities in socialist society are incomparably superior to those in capitalist society. You see, in socialist society, there is no socio-economic and class conditions restricting the building of activities of worker class party. The party's social and class foundations are broad, and the party has greater possibilities for winning the support and confidence of the popular masses through the implementation of popular policies. Seems really simple, doesn't it? For the party to expand, for the party to gain more and more support, and therefore more and more unity among the broad masses, it must implement popular policies that the people want. Imagine that, right? The collapse of socialist ruling parties, in spite of this, is explained by the fact that party building and party activities were not conducted properly. The most important factor in party building and party activities is to strengthen the party's organizational and ideological basis. The working class party is a political organization that has been formed on the basis of working class ideology. And as such, how its organizational and ideological bases are built is a basic factor that is essential to its existence. The working class party must lay down and strengthen its organizational and ideological foundations in the whole process of preparing its foundation and development. Oh, I got you. The strengthening of its organizational and ideological foundations is particularly important when the inheritance of party leadership is an issue, because at that moment, the class enemies at home and abroad, and schemers and ambitious elements who are greedy for power, maneuver more overtly than ever. If its organizational and ideological bases are solid, the socialist ruling party can thwart all the schemes of the imperialists and class enemies to undermine the party. Treachery within the party is a greater danger to the existence of the party than destructive moves from outside. But whether or not treachery can be prevented depends on the solidity of the organizational and ideological foundations. If the party adheres to the revolutionary principles and has durable organizational and ideological foundations, its leadership will not fall into the hands of traitors of the revolution. And, should the leadership fall into their hands, the traitors will find it difficult to impose their counter-revolutionary line upon party organizations and party members. Remember how I explained before? How does the party lead, chat? The leader of the party, for example, getting there through gaining the trust, etc., of everybody through the long course of struggle, puts forward lines with, of course, the collective help of the leadership itself, puts forward lines of policies, and encourages the party members to go out among the masses and encourage them to also get closer to that party line, right? Well, if the actual cadres and the actual members of your party are ideologically trained to a sufficient degree, then when their leadership starts trying to pass down revisionist or counter revolutionary lines, the party members can identify this as counter revolutionary and they can not follow that party line and B, remove whichever leadership is causing this issue. Because remember, a working class party, a socialist party, has that ability through the mechanisms of democratic centralism, a very important part of which is the right to recall. But the organizational and ideological foundations of several parties that were weakened because of a trend towards bourgeois liberalism that had infiltrated them. Taking advantage of this weakness, the traitors to the revolution were able to dictate their counter-revolutionary line to their subordinates openly. In particular, the body of cadres, the backbone of the organizational and ideological foundation of the party, was not built up well, and ideological degeneration was evident among them. When Eastern Bloc got destroyed, there were a lot of people who were in the parties instantly forming and joining liberal parties. Therefore, many cadres failed to distinguish between the revolution and counter-revolution clearly, and even when the counter-revolutionary nature of the traitors had been identified, they ideologically sympathized with them, just as March is talking about right here in chat actually, and followed them blindly, or flattered them submissively, for the purpose of self-protection in preference. Of course, the staunch communists preserved their conscience of party membership and fought to defend the party and socialism. But their struggle could not halt the adverse current of counter-revolution that had emerged due to the long-term degeneration of the party. Another important matter in the building of activities of the working class party is the fortification of its mass foundation. It is an essential condition for the existence of the working class party that represents the interests of the masses to strike root among the masses. Without the support of the masses, the working class party cannot maintain its existence. For the socialist ruling party to consolidate its mass base, it is essential for it to build socialism successfully, so as to display the advantages of the socialist system to the full, and, at the same time, to work well with the masses, to equip them fully with socialist ideology. Remember, as I said before, the old ideas do not just go away immediately when we have, whether we could turn on the socialist switch and have socialism tomorrow, or the anarchy switch and have anarchism tomorrow, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, communism, if we could flick that switch right now, the problem is you have people and old ideas that persist for a long time, not even for just one generation or two generations. But because of the way human consciousness and the way humanity develops its consciousness through the intersection with not only the institutions such as education and stuff, but also through their own family, these old ideas, greed and lust for power and stuff like this hangs on for a long time. And the way to overcome this is through ideological education. Because the way people got that way in the first place is also through ideological education. Only ideological indoctrination into the bourgeois idea would be the view from us as working people. Fundamentally speaking, the working class party is a party of the popular masses themselves, which fights in defense of their interests. Therefore, if the working masses oppose the working class party, it means that they are opposing themselves. But if the socialist ruling party fails to bring the superiority of the socialist system into full play because of insufficient organization and leadership of socialist construction, and if it fails to overcome bureaucracy, and other outmoded work methods and styles, and bribery, and other forms of irregularities and corruption within the party, it may become divorced from the masses. As for bureaucracy, it was evident. Sorry. Rewind that for a sec. I want to do that sentence again. As for bureaucracy, it was in evidence in the early days of the building of socialism. It was more or less inevitable that officials should employ outmoded work methods and styles, because they retained the remnants of outmoded ideas and had no experience of the management of socialist society. But the officials' outmoded work methods and styles at that time did not result in such a serious consequence as jeopardizing the revolutionary achievements, because the workers and peasants were giving strong support to the working class party and the socialist power that has freed them from exploitation and oppression. Now, here is where it gets very important, and this is again where those old backwards ideas can start coming back and causing problems, and this is why. Because with the passage of time, however, the people's class awareness dulled, and their demands increased, as happens. That's what humans do. Whereas bureaucratic practices grew more serious, as the cadres were replaced by the members of a new generation that lacked revolutionary training and, worse still, irregularities and corruption, which had been a minor problem in the early period of building socialism, increased to a considerable extent. These evils do not emanate from the nature of the working class party and the socialist society, but from outmoded ideological remnants and bourgeois ideology. So, they can overcome if the party strengthens its organizational and ideological work and combats them. But many parties pay no due attention to the organizational and ideological work of the party. As a result, they were unable to eliminate such unsound elements of bureaucracy, irregularities, and corruption. Meanwhile, they neglected the work of educating the popular masses in the socialist ideology, and tolerated ideological and cultural infiltration by the imperialists. Consequently, the political consciousness of many people dulled, and they were deceived by anti-socialist maneuvers of the imperialist reactionaries. Many of them even fooled by capitalist society itself, literally looking over at America and pining for this imagined view of what capitalism was, and not seeing all of the dirty underside of what capitalism is. Renegade socialists and reactionaries, talking about democracy and glasnost, use the shortcomings revealed in the socialist ruling parties as a means of misleading public opinion. I'm gonna cry. But if popular masses had been fully armed with the socialist ideology, many people would not have been fooled by the counter-revolutionaries, and would not have opposed their parties and governments. This part is also brought up in the GDR documentary. Interesting, we'll have to see that. We are definitely going to watch that GDR documentary. Let me just compose myself here. That part almost made me... The degeneration within socialist government parties, which resulted in the frustration of socialism, began with their discarding of the revolutionary principles for the building of a working class party. The revolutionary principles for building a working class party were put forward in Marxism-Leninism. The founders of Marxism.
It's all for one motherfucker and one motherfucker for all motherfuckers everywhere, you know what I'm saying?
The founders of Marxism, who believed that a vanguard for the working class was needed to lead its revolutionary struggle to victory, formed the Communist Union, the political organization of the working class, and founded the First International. And they worked hard to develop the international communist movement under the party's leadership. In the course of this, a number of party-building principles were established by the founders of Marxism.
He's a communist.
Oh, really?
Yep, big communist, big communist.
Oh.
Lenin, upholding the Marxist principles for party building, developed the theory of party building in accordance with the historical conditions in which the proletarian revolution became necessary with capitalism's transition to the stage of imperialism. He defined the poor peasantry among the working class as the motive force of the revolution and, on that new class basis, founded the Revolutionary Party. With the victory of the October Socialist Revolution in Russia under the leadership of Lenin's party, Marxist-Leninist principles for party building became the universal principles for party building recognized by communist and workers' parties. The new era of independence, in which the popular masses shaped their destiny independently and creatively, required a fresh development in party building theories. Here comes Juche. As a theory in the period of struggle of the working class party for the seizure of power, the Marxist-Leninist theory of party building did not clarify the details of how the working class party in power should develop itself and conduct its activities. And I mentioned before, of course, why the reason for that, as I said before, the reason for this, of course, is because, again, Marx and Lenin themselves never lived in a socialist society. Lenin did very briefly, but never long enough to write new theory pertaining to the new conditions they were experiencing. Many new theoretical and practical problems occurred in the building and activities of the party as the leading political organization of society after its seizure of power and the establishment of the socialist system. But several parties followed Marxism-Leninism dogmatically, claiming that it was their guiding principle. As a result, they did not develop a party-building theory as required by the situation in which socialism was being built. Therefore, they failed to find correct solutions to such new problems as those of strengthening their ranks organizationally and ideologically, and consolidating their mass foundations to suit their ruling position. When the limitations of the Marxist-Leninist theory of party building were revealed, the modern revisionists, taking advantage of them, led the working class parties to degeneration. Under the pretext of developing the Marxist-Leninist party-building theory in accordance with the changed circumstances and conditions, the modern revisionists emasculated the theory's revolutionary essence, weakened their parties systematically, and paralyzed their leadership functions. Socialist society requires that the working class party should be strengthened steadily and its leadership role enhanced. Socialist society, which is based on collectivism, can neither maintain itself nor blaze a trail successfully towards socialism and communism without the correct political leadership of the party. In the course of many years of living in the comfort of socialist society, the revolutionary spirit may gradually disappear, and idle and easygoing practices come to prevail among the new generation and other people, who have not experienced exploitation, oppression, and hardship. All this requires the strengthening of the party and the improvement of its leading role, as well as a more positive effort to educate party members and other people in the revolutionary spirit. But many socialist ruling parties neglected to strengthen themselves and to provide party members and the people with revolutionary education, believing that everything would go well merely if they built the economy after the establishment of the socialist system. Economic construction is an important task for the socialist ruling parties after the establishment of the socialist system. But if they emphasize only economic construction and neglect to strengthen themselves and to educate party members and the people in the revolutionary spirit, they cannot build even the economy successfully, and may lose the gains of the socialist revolution. The socialist government parties and the socialist systems collapsed in many countries, not just a few, because they had failed to establish juche, independence in ideology, self-sufficiency in economy, and self-reliance in defense in their development and activities. And I like this part here. So what we have to understand is socialism, when we achieve the socialist system, means exactly turning the whole society into a gigantic school for training revolutionaries. Establishing juche is the fundamental requirement in the building and the activities of a revolutionary party. The Revolutionary Party of the Working Class is an independent political organization which combats domination and subordination in all forms and struggles to realize the independence of the working masses. Therefore, the Revolutionary Party must resolve all the problems that arise in its building and activities with its own ideas and by its own efforts. Of course, in the early days of the international communist movement, the guidance and assistance of the International Center was necessary for the countries whose communist hardcore was not sufficiently prepared to carry out the cause of party building. As history developed and the revolution progressed, a communist hardcore and revolutionary forces grew up in different countries, and every party became able to conduct the revolution independently, in keeping with the specific conditions in its own country. In this historical situation, it was not realistic for an international center to guide the parties and revolutionary movements of different countries in a uniform way. So, the Communist International ceased to exist. But even after the Comintern had been dissolved, old practices lasted for a long time in the relations between communist and workers' parties. Practices expressed in their dogmatic acceptance of the party lines and policies of a major country, Russia, which had carried out the socialist revolution earlier. The good experience of others should be adopted, but in such a case it should be assimilated creatively to suit the specific conditions and situation in the country concerned. Since the specific conditions vary with the country, socialism cannot be built successfully if foreign experience is adopted dogmatically. Nevertheless, many parties, being in the habit of copying the lines and policies of the party of another country, follow the other when it abandoned socialist principles and pursued revisionism. They even accepted the counter-revolutionary lines which the traitors to socialism dictated to them. This resulted in the collapse of the socialist government parties in the Soviet Union and East European countries, and in the almost simultaneous collapse of the socialist systems in these countries. If the socialist government parties have resolved all the problems arising in their development and activities from their own point of view, with an attitude befitting masters who are responsible for the revolution in their own country, and to meet the requirements of their own people and the situation in their own country, the socialist government parties and socialist systems in these countries would not have collapsed. The process of the disintegration of parties that had seized power after an arduous revolutionary struggle and had spent decades building socialism, and of the destruction of the socialist systems, is a serious lesson. The historical lesson from the collapse of the socialist ruling parties and of the socialist systems in many countries is that the purity of the socialist idea must be maintained firmly if the cause of socialism is to be completed. Historical experience shows that when people's ideology degenerates, both the working class party and the socialist system will also become degenerate and cease to exist, which means corrupt in this context, by the way. The emergence of renegades from the party, the organizational and ideological disintegration of the party, and the change in public feelings all started from degeneration in ideology. If ideology degenerates, even great economic and military powers will collapse, and the socialist system that has been developed for decades will inevitably be destroyed. The most dangerous ideological trend which undermines socialism is that of revisionism, dogmatism, and flunkyism. The idea which is directly antagonistic to the socialist idea is the bourgeois idea. But the bourgeois idea cannot prevent the attraction of the socialist idea. The bourgeois idea that reflects the vicarious demands of the exploiter class cannot conceal its reactionary nature, no matter what hypocrisy is used to embellish it. It is natural that the working masses should accept the socialist idea, which reflects their demand for independence, instead of the bourgeois idea, which reflects the demand of the exploiter class that infringe upon their independence. Therefore, the imperialists and capitalists have used revisionism, which is the revision of the socialist idea to cater to their desires, as an ideological instrument. As it was in the past, so at present too, revisionism is the main threat to the accomplishment of socialist cause. Being the reflection of the bourgeois idea, which emerged in the communist movement, revisionism has prevented revolutionary transition to socialism in capitalist countries, and has been used by imperialists as their ideological instrument in their strategy of peaceful transition. By opening up the road to the return to capitalism in socialist countries. But no matter how carefully modern revisionism may disguise itself, we must identify its reactionary nature and categorically oppose and reject it. Dogmatism and flunkyism are also dangerous ideological elements in the accomplishment of the cause of socialism. Dogmatism and flunkyism prevent the socialist idea from displaying its full vitality. Those who are steeped in dogmatism and sycophancy will dance to the tune of others instead of acting in accordance with their own beliefs, will adopt revisionism if others practice revisionism, and, ultimately, will harbor illusions about the developed capitalist countries and recklessly introduce capitalist methods. Exactly what happened in the USSR. Literally, people in society, as I said earlier, literally became like they like pined for this idea of capitalism in the West that didn't exist, while completely ignoring the seedy underside, the evils of capitalism, which was even in American media and shit, right? Another historical lesson to be learned from the collapse of the socialist ruling parties and of the socialist systems in some countries is that the continuity of leadership must be ensured if one is to complete the cause of socialism. Now, this is the part here where I always tell people, right? Falcon, trying to disrupt it with jokes, I see ya. But this is the part where so many in the West just refuse to even talk about because, oh, leaders are bourgeois or something like this, not realizing that bourgeois leaders are bourgeois and working class proletarian leaders are working class or proletarian. And they only become our leaders because we make them our leaders. It's a horrible joke. It's like the daddiest joke you've ever told I've seen so far. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, March. We cannot regard the responsibility for the disintegration of the socialist ruling parties as resting with ordinary party members. If any of those countries In any of those countries, ordinary party members have faithfully supported the cause of the working class party and grieved at its collapse. The problem was that the continuity of the revolutionary leadership was not ensured. The continuity of the revolutionary leadership was not ensured. So, who then ended up leading the USSR, chat? If they weren't revolutionary, what are they? What's the opposite of counter-revolution? I almost gave the answer away. What's the opposite of revolution, chat? Yeah, I accidentally gave you the answer. Reaction, yep. Reactionary leadership instead, exactly. Counter-revolutionary also works as well, which is the one that I almost gave. So, you see, it's not saying, and this is where I see some people read this work and then say, oh, look, this proves that DPRK has a hereditary succession or something. No, they're saying that you have to ensure that the leaders that are going to take the place of leadership, not just the premier leader who, ends up being the big, like, the face of that people unite behind, but just all the leadership. You have to ensure that it's revolutionary and not reactionary, right? I know it sounds simple, but here we are. The USSR got overthrown, And that's why we need to understand the reasons for that. And again, I just want to reiterate that whenever they talk about establishing Juche, they're talking about independence and ideology, self-sufficiency in economy, and self-reliance in defense. That's what establishing Juche means, these three things. As well as the continuation of the three revolutions. The ideological, the technological, and the cultural. Those are the three revolutions that become even more prominent with the establishment of a socialist system. Because remember, the socialist system itself is a revolutionary transition period that eventually winds up building communism. So the theory goes. I mean, the theory has been proven in many respects, especially by, I would say, DPRK's struggle itself. Because remember, what we have between capitalism and between socialism is a qualitative change, right? Capitalism is a society based on class exploitation, class contradictions, and the maintaining of a lower class, right? Therefore, the maintaining of classes in general, because you can't have a class divorced from other classes. Whereas it's just the opposite of that for socialism. The destiny of the cause of socialism, which emerges in the fierce struggle against the class enemies, depends on how leadership of it is ensured. The struggle for socialism has developed in many countries over a long historical period, but correct leadership for it has not always been ensured. Leadership of the cause of socialism can be ensured only when an outstanding leader stands at its center. And what do we mean, again, when we're talking about an outstanding leader? One that the masses have brought to the fore through their own dedication to the people. In fact, I refer you to... We're going to... You know what? We're going to do it. We're going to go... We're going to hope that Marx.org is not still down. Because I think that now would be a good time to remind you about a quote that we have here. Because you better load. It's still down, isn't it? Yay, it's not. Okay. Because I think this is a good time to remind you of this quote from the work we read yesterday. Or Tuesday, sorry. The work we read Tuesday. Ensured only when an outstanding leader. So what do we mean by outstanding leader when we're talking about socialism? See if I can find it here. Pretty sure it's like right here. Oh, wait. Beginning. Yeah, here we go. It's up here near the top. Right here. In the history of the Cuban Revolution, there now appeared a character, well defined in its features, which would systematically reappear: the mass. This multifaceted being is not, as is claimed, the sum of elements of the same type, which acts like a flock of sheep. It is true that it follows its leaders, basically Fidel Castro without hesitation, but the degree to which he won their trust results precisely from having interpreted the full meaning of the people's desires and aspirations, and from the sincere struggle to fulfill the promises he made. There's a good quote for explaining what we mean by an outstanding leader. And here's another good one. But as far as initiatives or originating for the upper strata of the government are concerned, we are currently utilizing the almost intuitive method of sounding out general reactions to the great problems we confront. In this, Fidel is a master. His own special way of fusing himself with the people can be appreciated only by seeing him in action. At the great public mass meetings, one can observe something like the dialogue of two tuning forks whose vibrations interact, producing new sounds. Fidel and the masses begin to vibrate together in a dialogue of growing intensity until they reach the climax in an abrupt conclusion crowned by our cry of struggle and victory. The difficult thing to understand for someone not living through the experience of the revolution is this close dialectical unity between the individual and the mass, in which both are interrelated and, at the same time, in which the mass, as an aggregate of individuals, interacts with its leaders. So now I just refer you to this. Again, to repeat, leadership of the cause of socialism can only be ensured when an outstanding leader stands at its center. One day I'm going to write a book about leadership and socialism or something. Does this make sense to you? Is this kicking in at all? The leadership theory? What I'm talking about here? How the leader they're not talking about a leader that is chosen from above and imposed on the people. They're talking about what you saw there. Because what is exactly, Cinnamon? What is a collective if not individuals together? And to deny that collective uniting behind a leader that has correctly reflected their demands and desires and encourages them to enthusiastically struggle for socialism. I mean, what party can negate that? What authority does any party have, whether you call yourself the working class party or not, to decry that or denounce that? Again, I thought the masses were supposed to build socialism, no? Between the leader and his fighters, and between the leader and his people, there exists not a relationship of domination and obedience, but only the duty of love and return for that love. And chat, I don't know if you've ever been here when I talked about this before. Does anybody in chat know what the spiritual source of love is? What is the source of love? Is it a chemical in your brain? Is that the source of love, chat? Cinnamon got it. Cinnamon got it right away. Exactly. The spiritual source of love is trust. Trust is love. Love that proceeds from selfish motive is not love, but hypocrisy. Only when you fully trust others can you win trust from them. Trust produces unity. Mistrust, betrayal, and division. A revolution that realizes humanity's independence can be called the greatest love. A love that makes humanity perfect. This is the philosophy of love. The greatest love a revolutionary can give his comrade is trust. And in the world of comradeship, there is only the faith that I am you and you are me, together with love and loyalty. Comrade Kim Jong-il. This is where the trust between the people and the leaders has to come from. Otherwise, socialism will experience the same trials, the same turbulations that USSR did, and it will ultimately result in its overthrow. Love is the only thing that can solidify socialism and cause the working class party to become, and the leader to become, the leaders. That's the only way that can happen, is through love. And this, by the way, is a good weapon for you to wield. Juche itself is a fantastic weapon for you to wield against. How many of you hear that, what I mentioned earlier, that reactionary line that love somehow has something to do with a chemical in your brain? It's caused by a chemical in your brain. That's what love is. It's a chemical, and then our brain misinterprets that as love, right? I'm sure you've heard this. In fact, I know you have if you've watched, what's that fucking show? Rick and Morty. If anybody has watched Rick and Morty, you absolutely have heard that before, right? Not true. It's not true. And you know why it's not true? Because just like we explained before on this chat, and just like we can use Juche philosophy to scientifically prove that humanity is a social being, right? Our love doesn't come from our instinct. It doesn't come from a chemical in our brain. It comes from trust. It comes from ideologically and learning objective knowledge in society, in the intercourse with other humans in the collective that you live in. That's where love comes from. The love makes you worthy of trust because you care about one another. Exactly. And love is the source of actual obligation. And obligation, of course, is that which people are compelled to do voluntarily by themselves out of like a purpose, out of a reason for having to do the thing. You cannot, and this is why, I'm saying it's so important for a revolutionary party to be based on love and trying to bring love for the people into bloom, because that is where the obligation of people following the party line comes from. You cannot have a party that forces the masses to follow it. It can only come by realizing, materializing that obligation, by gaining the love and trust of the masses. How does the party do that? By being correct. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. So, now, sorry for that sidebar, but I thought it was a good time to explain that. There is no greater fortune for people than being guided by a leader who enjoys their absolute trust for his brilliant wisdom, outstanding leadership ability, and noble virtue, as well as for his lasting achievements. This does not mean that the people who have no such great leader cannot carry out the cause of socialism. After all, the most valuable of the traits of the leader who leads the cause of socialism is his loyalty to this cause and to the people. A leader derives wisdom, leadership ability, and virtue from the popular masses. As I just said, the people are the teachers, and there cannot be a prominent leader who is isolated from the people. Correct leadership will be ensured when the leader mixes with the popular masses at all times, listens to their opinions, and solves everything by relying on their strength. And the leader who has such popular leadership qualities is a true leader of the people. Disregarding the opinions of the people and not believing in their strength are the traits of a renegade. If such a renegade holds power, the misfortune of the people will suffer will be immeasurable. The greatest misery for people is to have the wrong leader. If the continuity of leadership is to be ensured, the socialist society, the party should be strong. In general, the personality and qualities of the leader of a communist movement are formed through a process in which they are tempered and tested in a fierce class struggle. But the personality and qualities of the leader of a new generation in a socialist society are shaped in the course of their being tempered and seasoned through party life and the practical work of building socialism. If an admirable leader is to come forward, a leader who has been tempered and tested through party life and revolutionary practice in a socialist way, the party should be powerful. Historical experience shows that it is quite possible for an excellent leader to come forward who is faithful to the cause of socialism and the people, and is well qualified and can carry forward the cause of socialism successfully if the problem of continuity of leadership is solved in a foresighted way, on the basis of strengthening the party organizationally and ideologically and observing party principles. The collapse of the socialist ruling parties and the destruction of the socialist systems in many countries are a great loss to the cause of independence for the popular masses. But if one learns a lesson from one's failure and opens up the revolutionary path of party building independently and creatively, one will be able to build a more revolutionary and militant party and continually promote the cause of socialism under the leadership of the party. The basic principles of building a Juche revolutionary party. Part 2. Anyone have any questions from part 1 before I continue? By the way, if you are enjoying my work and you want to support my stream, feel free to send some gift subs or subscribe yourself, send me some Bezos bucks, biddies, or of course the probably best way to do it is with a direct donation to my PayPal for anyone who's willing and able and enjoys my work. Thank you and red salute. Anyway, in addition to that self-promotion I just gave, there's my link in the chat if you would like, comrades. In addition to my self-promotion, I would also just like to ask anybody, how does part 1 sound to everybody? Making sense so far? Everything juche? Anybody get any aha moments or anything like really speak to you yet? You're digging it? Good, good. I'm glad to hear that, Harley. Welcome in, by the way. I saw you up there and I forgot to mention anything. Yes, I have a question. Does your mouth burn from spitting all that hot fire? Yes. You can ask my fiance. I literally warmed the bed just from laying in it. It radiates from me from reading all this juche. So far, so good. Okay, great, great. Glad to hear this. Let's go on to number 2 then. The basic principles of the building of a Juche revolutionary party. So now, here we go. How do you build a Juche party? Well, let's listen. Comrade Kim Jong-il probably knows. Might have some experience in this. The bitter experience of the collapse of the socialist... Oh god. I always do that. I'm the worst for that. Wait, it was 15. Okay. Whew. The bitter experience of the collapse of the socialist ruling parties and the destruction of the socialist systems in many countries demands that we should recognize more clearly the validity of our party's line of building a Juche party and work still harder to implement it. Our party has always solved in its own way, proceeding from a Juche stand, all the problems which have been raised in the building of the party and in its activities. Had our party followed others in the building of party and in its activities, it would have been harmed. In the history of our party too, there were at one time pressure from outside forces and schemes by factionalists infected with flunkyism. Who demanded that we should follow others. But our party did not move even a single step from its Juche line, because we have built our party and conducted its activities in our own way. Our party is leading the revolution and construction energetically, as a militant detachment which is united in one mind, even in today's complex situation. I like how you keep burning it into our brains, how if you can just flip the switch and get socialism, that you still wouldn't have everyone on board for many generations. That the ideological struggle takes a very long time, and that explains why socialism experiments are a struggle to keep alive, and not because of socialism itself. Yes, exactly. And this is what Juche, this is part of what proves Juche absolutely correct, by the way, Sam, is that fact that you just said. The fact that you have to struggle to keep it alive in the face of re-educating the masses rather than something inherent to the socialist system itself is exactly why Juche is so important. Yes, we can come to learn these same things ourselves, of course, right? There's scientific laws. They exist whether or not we want them to. So even if we don't study Juche, we can come to discover the laws. But I mean, why not? Why not study the laws ourselves and then make theory, relative to this? Learn the lessons like we do with all the other classic theories. Or like you should be doing with the other classic theories, I should say. The great leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung, has created a Juche theory on party building and comprehensively systematized it. After founding a Juche-based revolutionary party, which he has led on the basis of the Juche idea, and has also performed immortal exploits and accumulated valuable experience in party building. This is a great achievement and a sure guarantee for continually strengthening and developing our party as a revolutionary party of a Juche type. The Juche idea is the sole guiding idea of our party. The guiding idea of a party is its fundamental idea, which clarifies the goal of its struggle, as well as the principles and ways for achieving that goal. The character of the party and the basic direction of its building and activities are defined by its guiding idea. The party is a political organization of people with the same idea. Therefore, a scientific and revolutionary guiding idea for the party should be established before anything else in party building. It is only when the party has a scientific and revolutionary guiding idea that it will be able to convince its members and other people of the validity and cause and give them confidence in victory, to achieve the unity and cohesion of the party and the revolutionary ranks in ideology, and to lead the revolution and construction to victory based upon a correct strategy and proper tactics. Nice, Bake. Nice. So what's important here? What's important to understand here, and I want you to think about this, right? What's important before anything else in party building is the establishment of a scientific and revolutionary guiding idea. Now think about the settler parties that you're familiar with. How many of them have created a new revolutionary guiding idea, and how many of them just parrot and repeat Marxism, Leninism, and the old text endlessly, without ever developing any kind of new ideology at all? Like, how many of you have seen this? Like, in any Western settler party, this is the case. I would have to guess that instead of developing any sort of new theory pertaining to their new conditions, they just like study existing works endlessly. That's it. All they do. They participate in some demonstrations and sometimes have some like book clubs. But like they should be like there's more to practice than just that, you know? And then practice is the thing that will inform your theory and make you realize, oh wait, these things in Marxism, Leninism have certain limitations, or these things don't necessarily pertain to our particular conditions and our particular time circumstance. We need to update this. We need to create something with using this as our guiding idea, as our guide to action, and we need to create a new work. Yeah. I know a streamer just like that. I kept asking them questions about today's conflicts, and all they did was keep parroting and linking quotes from Marx. Yep. I mean, today, like the settler parties, Lenin, they'll repeat endlessly Lenin, sometimes even Stalin. And like, yeah, there's good stuff you can learn there, and that's a good guide to action, but it's not the theory for here, for right now. It's the theory for Russia, for then. We need new theory for now, pertaining to your own conditions. And where you are, where GMO is, might not be the same as where I am. Where Sam is, might not be the same as where I am. And where people were 5 years ago aren't the same as where they're going to be 5 years from now. Wow, Sam. Yeah. So those are people that are doing what Michael Perenni says, like how many Marxists can dance on the head of a surplus value, right? They're so like ideologically separated from any kind of practice at all that now it's just everything exists within the realm of theory alone, right? And everything can be solved and answered with existing theories. Uncle Ho was good for Vietnam, for example. Yes, exactly. And all of those people, like Uncle Ho Chi Minh, the leader of Lao, all of them. I'm sorry, I can never remember his name, but all of them always created new guiding ideas, right? Anyway, I will continue reading now. Yes, I'm sitting on the reading chair. This is why people mistake communism for religion. There are these dogmatists that cling to Marx and refuse to advance learning. Yes, yes. And rightfully so, because a lot of, again, communist parties in the West are literally doing this thing, right? Like, this is a literal problem with them. And then they like get all insulted when people are like, you're being dogmatic. You're treating it like religion. But you are. Yeah, my reading chair is like an office chair. It's shitty, but it works. It's nice to have a chair to switch between, because that one would probably kill. Either one would kill my back if I only sat in it. Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm gonna start this paragraph over again. The guiding ideas of the revolutionary parties of the working class share a common ground in that they reflect the desire of the popular masses, the driving force of the revolution for independence, and their interests. Again, I refer you to the. Oh, I refer you to this quote again. Nevertheless, they have their own specific features because the situation in every country is different. In the past, it was stressed that the parties of all countries should have one guiding idea, which was approved by all. But the fact that the party of each country should work independently with its own guiding idea and that it should develop its guiding idea creatively was neglected. Remember what we were just talking about? This was an obstacle for every country in building the party and making the revolution independently to suit its own situation. And again, the West is just, a lot of the settler Western parties are still just paralyzed by exactly that. Like, right there. This is it. The fact that each party of the country should work independently with its own guiding idea and that it should develop its guiding idea creatively was neglected. This was an obstacle for every country in building the party and making the revolution independently to suit its own situation. It is only when a correct guiding idea is created and developed from an independent and creative stand that a party can be built independently and the revolution and construction be conducted successfully, taking the idea as its guiding principle. Because a party has to create a guiding idea to keep abreast of the changing circumstances and its own situation, it should not renounce the revolutionary principles that should be maintained invariably in the building of party work and in its activities. The conditions under which the party works, as well as its duties, change in the course of accomplishing the cause of socialism. Therefore, the theoretical and practical problems arising in the building of the party and in its activities should be solved creatively to conform with this. But revolutionary principles should invariably be maintained because the class character of the party and its historical mission cannot change. Renouncing revolutionary principles because of changes in circumstances and conditions means destroying the revolutionary party and betraying the revolutionary cause of the popular masses. The great leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung, created the Juche idea, and thus found a brilliant way of providing a guiding ideology for the party to meet the requirements of the times and the situation in our country. The validity and vitality of our revolutionary idea are defined by how correctly the idea reflects the masses' desire for independence and their interests, and how scientifically it explains the way to meet them. The Juche idea accurately reflects the fundamental requirements of the working class and the other working masses, and explains the way it should be implemented in an absolutely scientific manner. The fundamental demand of the working class and the other working people is to end exploitation and oppression of human by human, and enjoy an independent and creative life as masters of state and society. Because it mirrors the masses' desire for independence and explains the way in which it should be implemented in a comprehensive manner, the Juche idea is the perfect revolutionary ideology of the working class, which reflects the new age in which the popular masses have emerged in the arena of history as masters of their destiny. It is only when party building and its activities are guided by the Juche idea that the party can consolidate and develop itself steadily and conduct the revolution and construction with success. This has been proved in our revolutionary practice. Developing our party into a mass party of the working people is a basic policy of building it. Formerly, the party was regarded as a political organization of a class, representing and defending the class's interests, and as a weapon in the class struggle. The party is the vanguard of a class, which fights to realize the demands and aspirations of that class. But if it is built into a party for that class alone, it is impossible for it to perform its duties properly as a revolutionary party or to win the broad support of the masses of people. The situation now, in which the broad masses of the people have emerged as the masters of their destiny, requires that the working class party be developed into a mass party, which represents the interests of all the people and embraces progressive elements from all classes and sections of the working population. Socialist society, in which all strata of the popular masses have become socialist working people, and the social and class composition is becoming more and more homogeneous, it is all the more necessary to develop the working class party into a mass party. The great leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung, displaying scientific insight into the requirements of our times and the specific situation of our revolution, put forward the theory of building a mass party of our and thus paving a new way for the building of a revolutionary party. The theory on building a mass party evolved by the great leader is based on the Juche revolutionary principle that the popular masses are the masters of the motive force. The masses are the masters and the motive force of the revolution and construction. The cause of socialism is undertaken by the people and for the people. Today, when the broad masses of the people are aspiring to socialism, and the social and class foundations of socialism have been expanded as never before, the party which fights for the cause of socialism must naturally be developed into a mass party which represents the interests of all the people and strikes root among the broad working masses. The party's development into a mass party must not result in the weakening or the alteration of its revolutionary and working class character. The class character of the party is defined by its guiding ideology and fighting objectives. Its revolutionary character is manifested in its loyalty to the revolutionary ideology of the working class and to the socialist cause. The cause of the working class conforms to the interests of all the people. And the working class can achieve the socialist cause successfully only when it rallies broad strata of the population behind it. It is, therefore, a legitimate requirement in building the Revolutionary Party to develop it into a mass party, which champions the interests of all the people and comprises farmers and intellectuals as well as the working class. Experience shows that when it fails to become a mass party of the working people, a party may be reduced to a political minority of communists when faced with difficulties in the revolution. Only when it is built as a mass party which thoroughly champions the masses' desire for independence and their interests and strikes root among wide sections of the working people can the party maintain unbreakable ties with the masses and succeed in the socialist cause by relying on the inexhaustible energies of the people who are rallied behind it. The great leader, on the basis of the line of building a mass party, built a revolutionary party of Juche, which consists of the advanced elements of the workers, farmers, and working intellectuals, and champions the interests of the popular masses, and thus set a brilliant example in the building of a mass party. He had not only a hammer and sickle symbolizing the workers and farmers, but also a brush symbolizing the working intellectuals, formed the party's emblem. To suit the characteristics of our party, a mass party, and has led the party to form a harmonious whole with the masses and render loyal service to all the people, so as to provide them with an independent and creative life. Our party has developed into an inconquerable revolutionary party which enjoys the unqualified support and trust of the popular masses. It has become a powerful motive force for the revolution by welding itself with the masses into a socio-political organism which shares their common destiny. This is an excellent fruition of the great leader's line of building a mass party, and it ensures all of our victory. Firmly establishing monolithic ideology and leadership within the party is a fundamental principle in the building of our party. Now, that sounds scary, I know, but monolithic ideology simply means everybody needs to have the working class ideology, and we cannot tolerate bourgeois ideology within the party. The durability and vitality of the Revolutionary Party is ensured by its monolithic ideology and leadership. Monolithic ideology and leadership is essential for the unity of idea and purpose within the party, and for its effective leadership of the revolution and construction. Monolithic ideology and leadership in a party is best achieved when the party is guided by a distinguished leader, as we discussed earlier, and again, to refer you to this quote in Socialism and Man is Cuba. A leader who is endowed with great intelligence, outstanding leadership ability, and noble virtue, aka love for the people, can formulate lines and policies which reflect the masses' desire for independence and their interests accurately, and organize and guide their creative activities successfully. A party which does not support its leader's ideology or guidance, or does not inherit his cause, cannot be called a revolutionary party. Sam has gotten mono from a party once. You know what it's about then. Monolithic ideology and leadership in a party is guaranteed by centralist discipline, and can be ensured only when the party has established a centralist work system, an order by which all party organizations and all its members obligatory implement its lines and policies, and by which its entire membership acts as one in accordance with the instructions of its central committee. The establishment of monolithic ideology and leadership in a party does not conflict with democracy, but provides a sure guarantee for genuine democracy. When no such ideology and leadership is established, An unprincipled democracy is permitted within the party. Democracy may be suppressed by bureaucracy and arbitrariness manifested among officials who lack in party discipline. And the unity and cohesion of the party may be broken, and division encouraged by undesirable elements hidden in the party. Yeah, mono's not recommended, I agree. The occurrence of undisciplined practices and disorder, and the emergence of factions in the party over recent years, which led finally to their disintegration and collapse, were due in no small measure to the failure to ensure their monolithic ideology and leadership, resulting from undue emphasis on democracy. It is only when monolithic ideology and leadership are combined properly with democracy in a party that true comradely unity is achieved among party members. And the unity of superiors and subordinates is guaranteed, and its lines and policies are implemented with success. Making it the basic principle in the party building to maintain monolithic ideology and leadership, our party has established the monolithic ideological and leadership system firmly among its entire membership, and thus has been able to develop and strengthen itself into an unbreakable, militant organization which thinks and acts as one under the guidance of the leader. Our experience in party building shows that democracy, based on unshakable monolithic ideology and leadership, makes it possible for a party to promote the revolution and construction forcefully by uniting all its members firmly with one ideology and purpose. It is our main task in party building to strengthen the party's unity and cohesion. The unity and cohesion of the party is its lifeblood and the source of its might. The party whose unity and cohesion is disrupted cannot maintain its existence. The unity and cohesion of the party is a prerequisite for achieving the political and ideological unity of the whole society. The unity of the broad masses behind the party and the leader in their struggle constitutes the major driving force in the rapid development of socialist society. You hear this? This is what DPRK has figured out that I would say all the other socialist countries are on the road to figuring out still. And they're all like there. They're the first ones I've seen that have really like put it in writing like this. The unity of the broad masses behind the party and the leader in their struggle constitutes the major driving force in the rapid development of socialist society and is the source of its unconquerable might. That right there, this here, the unity, these things forming a single political organism is what ensures victory in revolution. The political and ideological unity of the whole society is inconceivable without the unity and cohesion of the party. The party is the hard core, joining the popular masses with the leader organizationally and ideologically. In order to achieve the political and ideological unity of the whole society by rallying the popular masses firmly behind the leader, it is essential, before all else, to achieve the unity and cohesion of the party ranks, the hard core. The unity and cohesion of the party behind the leader in ideology and purpose, as well as in morality and loyalty, is the most durable of unity and cohesion. An association which is based on a mere sense of duty or on business routine cannot last long, nor can it withstand the severe trials of the revolution. Only solid, single-hearted unity behind the leader, which is based on one ideology and purpose, and on loyalty to the revolution, can be unbreakable unity and cohesion that are capable of overcoming all hardships and trials. The work of strengthening the unity and cohesion of the party must be steadily intensified. If we resting content with the unity and cohesion of the party that has been achieved, do not make continued efforts to consolidate it, the unity and cohesion may be gradually weakened and, in the long run, destroyed. It is important to launch an effective struggle to preserve the unity and cohesion of the party, especially when one revolutionary generation is replaced by another, and when the situation, internal and external, is complex. Exactly, Cinnamon, exactly. Historical experience shows that in such a situation, ambitious elements and renegades appear to try and wreck the unity and cohesion of the party. The struggle to maintain the unity and cohesion of the party is, in the final analysis, a fight against heterogeneous ideological trends that are detrimental to the unity and cohesion of the party. The most dangerous of the ideological trends that undermine the party's unity and cohesion is factionalism and other counter-revolutionary ideological trends. If we tolerate counter-revolutionary ideological trends within the party, anti-party groups will be formed on their basis and will destroy the party. In order to maintain the unity and cohesion of the party, it is also necessary to guard against parochialism, nepotism, and other unsound ideological elements. Parochialism and nepotism are seeds of factions, and, if they are confined at, may grow into factions and break the unity and cohesion of the party. We must remember that heterogeneous ideological elements that are harmful to the party's unity and cohesion can germinate from the remnants of outmoded ideas or infiltrate from outside. We must always be vigilant. Historical experience shows that if we neglect the consolidation of the unity and cohesion of the party, and the belief that the unity and cohesion of the party will not be destroyed in socialist society, factional forces may appear in the party and challenge the party, in collusion with counter-revolutionary forces outside the party, and this will incur grave consequences. Only when we develop the work of consolidating the unity and cohesion of the party, regarding it as the main task in party building, can we strengthen and develop its unity and cohesion down through the generations. Our party achieved solid unity and cohesion a long time ago. Not resting content with this, however, it has continued to work hard to strengthen the single-hearted unity of the whole party around the leader, so that it maintains unbreakable unity and cohesion, without any facilitation even in the present complex situation. It is the consistent policy of our party to stress ideology in party building. A party is a political organization of people who are united by a common ideology. Therefore, its ranks should be strengthened with the main stress on ideology. This means that the party's ranks should be made up of people who are loyal to the cause of socialism, judged mainly by how strong a belief they have in the party's ideology. Only when the party's ranks are strengthened with people who have high level of ideological consciousness and are loyal to the cause of socialism is it possible to ensure the party's solid unity in ideology and purpose and its strong revolutionary character, and enhance the vanguard role of party members in the revolutionary struggle and construction work. Therefore, it is essential in building up the party's ranks to judge people mainly and always by their ideological level and their loyalty to the cause of socialism, while taking into account their socio-class position and background. Even in a society where hostile classes has been eliminated and all the members of society have become socialist working people, the principle of giving priority to ideology in building up the party's ranks must not be violated. In a socialist society too, some people who are not prepared politically and ideologically may possibly attempt to join the party in pursuit of selfish interests and fame. But such people are not qualified for party membership, and, If they are admitted to the party, the dignity and prestige of the party may be damaged and the party itself be weakened. In the building a party by judging people's ideological criteria, it is extremely important to form the ranks of cadres with officials who are infinitely loyal to the party, the leader, and the revolution. Cadres are the backbone of the party. They educate the masses and direct the revolution. The strength of the party depends largely on the quality of its cadres. Cadres need to be competent, but more importantly, should have a sound ideology. Loyalty to the party, the leader, and the revolution is the first criterion of a cadre. To form the cadre ranks mainly on the criterion of loyalty to the party, the leader, and the revolution is a fundamental matter that has been bearing on the future of the party. The major obstacle to forming the cadre ranks with the main stress on ideology is the violation of party principles because of favoritism, personal acquaintance, and the like in the work of personal administration. If party principles are disregarded in personal administration, unqualified people may be admitted into the ranks of cadres, or even alien elements may worm their way into them. With a view to ensuring the purity of the ranks of cadres, our party has established strict procedures for the appointment and dismissal and the ratification of cadres, and has ensured that cadres are selected and appointed on the basis of collective discussion by the party committee, and on the principle of unanimous approval. Thus, only those loyalty and ability have been verified in revolutionary practice have been selected and appointed as cadres. The experience of our party shows that only when the ranks of cadres are built up mainly on ideological criteria can the party be strengthened organizationally and ideologically, and on this basis, the cause of the party be accomplished down through the generations. Establishing the monolithic ideology is the major task of our party. The building of socialism and communism is the process of modeling the whole society on the revolutionary ideology of the working class.
Communism is based.
Our party set the ultimate objective of our revolution to be the modeling of the whole society on the Juche idea, and has worked hard to occupy the ideological and material fortresses, socialism and communism, by transforming our ideology, technology, and culture to meet the requirements of Juche. The main aspect of modeling the whole society on one ideology is to instill our monolithic ideology in all members of society. People are masters of the society, and a person's value and quality are defined, and all his activities are regulated by his ideological consciousness. Therefore, in order to transform the whole of society on a single ideology, it is essential, above all else, to educate people and transform their ideology. People not only transform nature and society, but also reform themselves. The ideological transformation of people is also influenced by changes and developments in the objective conditions of society. In particular, the change and development of the social system exert a great influence on the change and development of ideological consciousness. Remember, a reflection of the material conditions, that quote? But a change in the objective conditions does not bring about that of people's ideological consciousness spontaneously. I'm going to repeat that because that part's so important. But a change in the objective conditions does not bring about that of people's ideological consciousness spontaneously. Ideological consciousness is consciousness which reflects the demands and interests of people, and it has relative solidity. Unless people work to remold their ideological consciousness, regardless of changes in the objective circumstances and conditions, their ideological consciousness will not be transformed. If we believe that people will acquire the socialist ideology automatically after the establishment of the socialist system and neglect their ideological transformation, old ideologies may revive. The transformation of people's ideological consciousness is more difficult than the reform of the social relations and the development of forces of production. The remnants of old ideologies are very conservative and revive whenever the possibility arises. Ideological transformation, particularly in confrontation with imperialism, is accompanied by a serious class struggle. Therefore, we must direct ever greater efforts to ideological transformation and give definite priority to it over all other work. The ideology with which one should equip the members of society should be an excellent one. There cannot be a vacuum in people's ideological consciousness. Unless we have a good ideology that is superior to the old ideologies, we cannot succeed in ideological transformation. The great leader Comrade Kim Il-sung originated the Juche idea, and, while leading the arduous revolutionary struggle for nearly 70 years, has produced a full clarification of how a revolutionary should live and struggle, setting a fine example in doing so, and thus providing us with good ideological spiritual wealth for the ideological transformation. The revolutionary ideology of the great leader and the history of the revolutionary struggle are an invaluable textbook and example for imbuing the whole society on an ideology. The loyalty to the party and the leaders of our anti-Japanese revolutionary forerunners, the heroic soldiers who fought in the Fatherland Liberation War, and the heroes of socialist revolution and construction, and their devoted service to the country and the people are also a priceless asset in ideological transformation. An old ideology does not give way to a good new one of its own accord. A good ideology is, needless to say, very attractive. But since the imperialists and the reactionaries are playing many tricks in an attempt to slur the socialist ideology and beautify and embellish the bourgeois ideology, it is not easy for people to accept an advanced ideology. Only through a struggle to oppose a reactionary bourgeois ideology and equip people with the advanced socialist ideology can they be educated and reformed along revolutionary lines. It is the most important task for the parties building socialism to carry out vigorous ideological work, to prevent the penetration of reactionary bourgeois ideology and equip people with the socialist ideology. Only when the revolutionary parties conduct good ideological work to overcome the reactionary bourgeois ideas of all hues and arm people with the advanced socialist ideology can they firmly guarantee the victory of the socialist ideology and succeed in imbuing the whole society with it. For ideological transformation of the whole society, the party must give priority to the ideological education of its members. In other words, a party must educate its members first and then make them educate the hardcore of the masses, who, in turn, will educate the broad masses. The education of the hardcore of masses by party members and the education of broad masses by the hardcore of the masses is an effective method of educating and transforming all the members of society, with one person educating 10 people 100, 100 people 1,000, and 1,000 people 10,000. A party member is a political activist by nature, and it is the duty of a party member to conduct political work to educate and transform the masses. When party members refuses to give precedence or to the ideological education of its members, they cannot do their duty as political activists and may degenerate ideologically. It cannot be said that the traitors of the revolution who appeared in some socialist ruling parties were anti-socialist from the first. The parties neglected the revolutionary education and tempering of their cadres and members, with the result that some people gradually degenerated and became traitors. In the light of this lesson, we must always pay primary attention to the revolutionary education and tempering of cadres and party members. In order to succeed in the ideological tempering of party members, we must lead them to live a good party life. A party life is a furnace for ideological tempering. When party members fail to lead a party life and leave the control of their party organizations, they may become liberal and degenerate ideologically. Proceeding from their need of political integrity, party members must participate voluntarily in party life. Our party has established a well-regulated system for party life, which enables its members to raise their political integrity and fulfill their duties through leading a party life. Our party has led all its organizations to guarantee proper organization and guidance, so that their members lead a party life consciously and faithfully in compliance with party rules, having a correct view of their party organization, and temper themselves. By the way, if you want an example of a party rule, it's like the struggle for your independence can't supersede or can't restrict someone else's independence. Ideology is reformed through ideological education in an ideological struggle. Ideological education is work to equip people with revolutionary ideas. It requires a certain system and definite forms and methods. Our party has established a well-knit system of ideological education within itself and has run it regularly. It has steadily improved the forms and methods of ideological education as required by the developing situation. The ideological struggle is an important form of ideological transformation that is performed through criticism. Criticism is a tonic for preventing ideological sickness. Self-crit, chat, self-crit. Our party has established a sound atmosphere for criticism within itself, so that an ideological struggle is conducted through criticism to temper the cadres and its members on revolutionary lines. For the ideological transformation of the whole society, the party must also educate the masses responsibly. The greatest love for the people is manifested by equipping them with the conscience of independence and awakening them ideologically. Yep, the unlearned command. And the most serious crime against the people is to paralyze their consciousness of independence and make them ideologically degenerate. The responsible education of the popular masses by a party is an expression of its boundless love for them. Yes, USSR absolutely had ideological sickness. For sure. Party organization should guide all its cadres and members to conduct political work widely among the masses, while at the same time educating the masses through working people's organizations. Conducting work with the masses through working people's organizations is our party's principle in guiding the masses. The proper guidance of those organizations is an important duty of the Socialist ruling party, which is the political leadership organization of society. Working people's organizations must work independently, but they should not be left without the guidance of working class party. And by guidance, of course, we mean ideological guide. Remember, in a socialist society, the working class party cannot take direct, officialized hold of state organs. Instead, it guides through ideology like works and speeches like the one we're reading right now. It is the working class party that represents the interests of the popular masses most thoroughly in socialist society. So the working people's organizations must always conduct their activities in accordance with the party's lines and policies. The independence of working people's organizations, that mean freedom from the leadership of the party, eventually reduces the working people's organization to a tool for the counter-revolutionary forces. The socialist ruling party must give correct guidance to the working people's organizations so that they conduct the work of educating and reforming the masses of all strata independently, creatively, and skillfully in accordance with their duties and character as organizations for ideological education. The party's norms for an organizational and ideological life should serve as an example of the organizational and ideological life in the working people's organizations. But, unlike the party that is composed of advanced elements of the working people, the working people's organizations are mass organizations, which embrace the broad masses. As every working people's organization has its own characteristics, its organizational and ideological life should be arranged accordingly. The fundamental method of mass education is explanation and persuasion. Here it comes, Chad. This part's important. You might want to clip me when I say this next quote, even if you just clip this real short part. The fundamental method of mass education is explanation and persuasion. People's ideology cannot be reformed by administrative orders or by coercive methods. People should be encouraged to accept the ideology as their faith through explanation and persuasion. Officials should always explain to the masses and try to persuade them steadily and patiently. Influencing people by positive examples is an effective method of educating them. The affirmative is the progressive and beautiful things that meet the demands of the people for independence. So they exert a great influence on people. And that's what Larry does. Support for the affirmative is a criticism of the negative and shows people the ways of overcoming the negative. Our party's experience shows that there is no one who cannot be educated and reformed if we conduct explanation and persuasion and influence people properly by positive examples in education. Great effort should be directed particularly to the education of the younger generation in the education of the masses. The older generation of the revolution should pass down to the younger generation great revolutionary spirit and creative ability. Of course, material wealth should be handed down to the younger generation, but however much material wealth they may inherit, they will misuse it if they lack revolutionary spirit and creative ability. In those countries where capitalism has revived, many young people took the lead in opposing socialism. This was due to their party's failure to guide them properly. It is an important duty for socialist ruling parties to educate the younger generation on revolutionary lines, so that they firmly defend the socialist system and continue to work for the revolution and accomplish the cause. Historical lesson shows clearly that when the younger generation are not educated in a revolutionary way, the revolutionary gains achieved at the cost of blood are lost. Today in our country, the young people are working with devotion develop socialism further under the leadership of the party. And all the young people and children are growing up as dependable successors to the revolution. This shows that the leadership of our party, which has put great efforts into the education of the rising generation, is absolutely correct. But we should not rest content with the success which we have achieved in the education of the younger generation. We should train them more as revolutionaries of a Juche type. It is the basic mission of our party to guarantee its political leadership of the whole society. The Revolutionary Working Class Party in Socialist Society is charged with the mission of assuming responsibility for the destiny of the people, forging it and providing independent and creative lives for them. If the party is to fulfill its mission, it should ensure its political leadership in politics, the economy, culture, national defense, and all other spheres. The party's responsibility for the destiny of the people is inseparable from its leading position. The Revolutionary Party's renunciation of its leading position and role is the evasion of its responsibility for the destiny of the people. It is the fundamental direction in the building of a socialist ruling party to enhance the leading position and role of the party so that it can fully ensure its political leadership over the whole society. The great leader, Comrade Kim Il-sung, wisely guided our party to strengthen its position as the political leader of society and enhance its role as such. Our people recognize only the Workers' Party of Korea as the political leader and entrust their destiny entirely to the party, and they are full of a firm determination to complete the revolutionary cause of Juche under the leadership of the party. The leadership of a revolutionary party to the revolution and construction should be political leadership. First of all, the party should draw up correct policies. The lines and policies of a revolutionary party should accurately reflect the masses' desire for independence and their interests, and, to this end, the party should heed their aspirations and demands. Our party has believed in the popular masses as its teacher, always mixed with the masses, listened to them, and shaped its policies to reflect their demands and interests. As a result, our party has been able to avoid deviations to right or left in framing its lines and policies, and our party's policies have commanded the full support of the popular masses. The party should not only draw up correct policies, but also lead its organizations to carry out its policies thoroughly. An important duty for party organizations at all levels is to organize, control, and guide the execution of party policies. When party organizations implement party policies correctly, they can translate them into reality so as to promote the revolution and construction. The party should give full priority to political work in all of its activities, so as to give full play to the revolutionary enthusiasm and creative ability of the popular masses. It is an intrinsic demand of socialist society to give precedence to political work in all activities. The revolutionary enthusiasm and creative ability of the working people who are masters of state and society can be brought into full play only by political methods. Here comes another important part. The capitalist method of motivating people by coercion or money, which is contrary to the intrinsic nature of socialist society, not only cannot give full play to their revolutionary enthusiasm and creative ability, but also results in the degeneration of the socialist system itself. Only the method of giving full rein to the revolutionary enthusiasm and creative ability of the popular masses, by giving priority to political work, is a revolutionary method of strengthening the socialist system and giving full play to its advantages. Hey, Swims with Whales, welcome in, comrade. We're just reading Fundamentals of Revolutionary Party Building, which I think chat will agree has been very, very informative. Of course, gives us some analysis as to the overthrow of USSR, and more importantly, the lessons that we learn from it. I'm going to make this a highlight, by the way, on the channel when we're done reading. By giving precedence to political work in all its activities, our party has been able to promote the revolution and construction dynamically in reliance on the high revolutionary enthusiasm and creative ability of the popular masses, and to give full play to the advantages of the socialism of our own style, which is centered on the popular masses. I love this. I love this part. I just want to repeat this one part one more time. The capitalist method of motivating people not only by money, but by coercion as well. Both are capitalist methods of motivating people. Remember? How do socialists, how do we lead people? What's the only way that socialists can lead people? It's not by coercion, right? What's the opposite of coercion? See if I can find it again right quick. This gives Chad a chance to answer it. Wow, I can't believe I went so far. Right here. Persuasion. The fundamental method of mass education is explanation and persuasion. We know what persuasion means, right? Persuasion, of course, means you're not changing somebody's mind by force. You're changing their mind through explanation. Yes, exactly. And you can't ever force someone to come to that understanding, right? Like you can explain it to them, and in fact you might have to explain it to them many times. You might have to explain it to their kids, right? Yes, exactly. Common. And that's why DPRK provides all of its citizens with free housing. You just fucking hit the nail right on the head right there. Not providing housing is a form of coercion, forcing you to accept working conditions lest you be unhoused. That is a form of coercion. And that's why part of the development in DPRK has been guaranteed housing for everyone. Guaranteed housing for all members of society as a right. Because what this is it's guaranteeing everybody the right to life, right? And therefore, they can be convinced through persuasion to accept the socialist ideology. Right? That right there, DPRK providing all citizens with all the massive amount of social wages does, but housing in particular is a perfect example of that. And yeah, just like you say, Comment, when DPRK builds housing for the people free of charge, the people are more easily persuaded because they trust the workers at Workers' Party of Korea to provide basic human rights, right? It's like, oh, they provided the housing. They're providing us with food every month in addition to our income what we can buy with our income. They price control food. You know, all of these things, all of these little things over time causes a more solid unity around the Revolutionary Party and around the leader that represents this struggle. And to the point where you have people in a society who hold up their leader, the images of their leader, as an inspirational thing to them. And there's no contradiction here at all. Okay, what common opponent, what we're talking about right now is exactly what leads them to holding up the pictures of their leaders and saying, we have great leaders. Our great leader Kim Il Sung. During Kim Il Sung's leadership, we did this. During great leader Kim Il Sung's leadership, this happened. Or the dear respected Marshal Kim Jong Un came and examined this workplace, and that inspired us, right? That's the reason why you see that emerge, right there. Not because these people are actually the individual leaders operating all the levers of society. No, because they're the representative of the masses' own struggle to materialize their own interests. And again, as we pointed out, the leader doesn't have the ability to coerce, to command, or to force people into its leadership. It does so through persuasion. It does so through obligation. And the source of obligation is... Chat should know this one by now. Chat, the source of obligation is... This is like the test. The source of obligation is trust, exactly. And that's also the source of love. No liberals here, Grom. There is no liberals here. The reason, Grom, the reason why I have... The reason why I have 19 viewers is because I'm sitting here reading people Juche philosophy and trying to explain the role that leaders like Fidel play in the revolution. Again, actually, I'm going to quote this. Oh, nice. You met with SKP? How'd it go, comrade? Let us know. Give us the deets. But just like we were saying about how the leader, the role of the leaders, you know, is not decided but from above. And as I'm mentioning, as the leader is the representative of this party through the passing of all these popular policies, housing for all, education for all these things, right? People get more solidified behind the leadership or that leader that represented that struggle. And they begin to call him great leader, etc. But as I mentioned, in the history of the Cuban Revolution, there now appeared a character, well defined in its features, which would systematically reappear: the mass. This multifaceted being is not, as is claimed, the sum of elements of the same type, which acts like a flock of sheep. It is true that it follows its leaders, basically Fidel Castro, without hesitation. But the degree to which he won this trust results precisely from having interpreted the full meaning of the people's desires and aspirations, and from the sincere struggle to fulfill the promises he made. And, furthermore, in this, Fidel is the master. His own special way of fusing himself with the people can be appreciated only by seeing him in action. At the great public mass meetings, one can observe something like a dialogue of two tuning forks, whose vibrations interact, producing new sounds. Fidel and the mass begin to vibrate together, in a dialogue of growing intensity until they reach the climax in an abrupt conclusion crowned by our cry of struggle and victory. The difficult thing to understand for someone not living through the experience of the revolution is this close dialectical unity between the individual and the mass, in which both are interrelated and, at the same time, in which the mass as an aggregate of individuals interacts with its leaders. They want me to help them with their content creation and outreach for the Marxist classes they run. Well, Grom, considering the conversation, I haven't, obviously, like, I started Twitch long after you did your political content. But I can say, like, from having talked with you, you know, one-on-one, or talk with you in person, that I guess as close to in person as we can get, but having talked to you in person about theory when I was like dead tired, but when I was talking to you about theory, it, like, yeah, you have that same like drive to learn theory that I do, for sure. And I could tell that just by talking to you. Like that same thing that I had where like when I went and read Juche, I was like, everybody's fucking wrong about it. Everybody is wrong about this. At least the people I was encountering, because I was like, I understand this because I understand Marxism, Leninism. And all these fucking people, like, calling it idealist and all this shit, the reason why they're doing that is because they have a misinterpretation of Marxism, Leninism itself. So I was very, very impressed when we got talking with each other. Goddamn Maoists, yeah. Yeah. Don't even get me started, though. Don't even get me started. We have Maoist party around here called the Revolutionary Communist Party, RCP, PCP, PCR, RCP, PCR. Yeah, that's them. Oh my god. They swear up and down that they are not Bob Avakian. Right? They swear up and down it's not Bob Avakian. But then when you fucking look at their program, yeah, it is. I've read enough Bob Avakian to know when I fucking see him, you know? Like, like when people come at me and tell me, like Trotsky too, I've read Trotsky. When people come at me and say things like, oh, you just don't understand that person. The first thing I do is go and pick up a fucking book and read it by that person. I read several works by that person, and then I come back and go, here's where you're wrong, and this is why you're wrong. Did you read Juche? And 100% of the time they say no. That's awesome, Grom. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that, comrade. They run Marxist classes for anyone, ran by actual teachers, but they're having a difficult time reaching people with them because they're handing out pamphlets and buying ads on Facebook. And I was like, well, that's dumb. I can do that better for you. This is one thing I really like about this. Okay, I don't talk about my underground stuff very often because I look white as shit, but coming from like, you know, having First Nations family means that I am still at a certain risk for things, okay? I do have a certain amount of stuff working in my favor because of the way I look, obviously. But because of my family, I also have a lot of stuff that works against me in some respects as well. So I don't like to talk specific things, but I will say, Grom, that like the most rewarding thing for me here has been when I left the Communist Party of Canada because of sexual abuse shit, and because it was just an utterly like paralyzed settler party. And when I found this new organization that I now do like lessons with, I go there and I teach Juche as sort of like a lesson thing. It's been so fucking rewarding to me, and like seeing the like this is great. I love this, but seeing the people's like faces like when I'm talking to them and seeing them like, oh yeah, that does make sense, you know. And it's like almost even more direct. Like I encourage you all to start like, I keep telling you all to start like spamming me questions when I'm reading. That's fine. I love that. But yeah. Thank you, Cinnamon. I appreciate you saying that, comrade. That means a lot. Just hope to like I just hope here like I'm that's why I wanted to kind of start teaching here as well. You know, bring a little bit of that same energy here. What I really was impressed with is how they already run some of the things I have been thinking about. Needs to be expanded. They are already doing it, and they talked about their role being forming ties with people's orgs, not just other leftist orgs, which was I was super impressed with. Oh my god, that is yes. And Grom, this is what I mean. This is, as I keep saying, is a huge failure. I think even the night we were talking when I did the 24-hour stream, I mentioned to you how like the communist parties here are just totally like lost in that in a way that obviously even that one isn't. Like it's not even a matter of just not doing enough here. It's a matter of they don't, you know? They will contribute, and it's frustrating, like I said, because and contributing money to Cuba is a good thing to do. But when you're doing that at the expense of contributing anything to First Nation struggles in your own country, there's something wrong. I appreciate that. We love having you as our tutor, comrade. Well, thank you. Thank you. As a matter of fact, SKP completely broke ties with the KP, and when the KP came out with anti-immigration stance and said if anyone did that, the SKP, they would be excluded. Perfect. So it sounds like a party that actually has some principles. The fuck? That's surprising. I mean, it's good. Like I'm surprised because like here, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Europe is it's just like fuck here that it's not like that at all. It's even more emasculated here. Yeah, I don't blame you. That sounds pretty good. I mean, you still have the other one to meet with, but that sounds that sounds like they have really good principles, right? That you can then build up on. And that's the thing, actually, like what we're just talking about here in this talk. I know you probably just came in, Grom, but like what we're talking about in this talk here is like there is a huge deficiency in Western communists, right? And like what I was saying here is that a huge reflection of this deficiency is that they want to just like hold on to the existing theories, the existing Marxist-Leninist theories, right? Without updating them, without like creating new theory that pertains to their. In other words, they're treating Marxism-Leninism, the guide to action, as a dogma, right? And this is what I was saying about earlier. Like, so many of them are just totally paralyzed by this. And then the reason why they don't even see the need to make new theory is because their practice is so divorced from anything other than tailism, right? Like they're just so divorced from actual practice that they can't even recognize that the theory that they're dogmatically trying to copy doesn't pertain to all the conditions that exist anymore. They're blinded by it because you need that integration of your theory and your practice, right? That the theory is what the theory guides your struggle, but the practice is what tells you what parts of your theory are correct and what parts of your theory need improving. And if you're going out and like trying to organize thinking that Marxism-Leninism had the answers for 2023 Canada, you're gonna fucking find yourself not having any answers at all. Right? Or you're going to find yourself having a conflict of answers in your own party, which then leads to factionalism and splitting and shit. You have to have theory that applies to your conditions. Otherwise, what you'll have is a situation will come up and you'll have one part of the party go, no, this is the solution. And the other part of the party go, no, this is the solution. And then they will split. Right. Whereas if they had been forming an ideology and a guide to action that pertains to their own conditions first and foremost, there is less room for a split like that to happen because it's already made clear, right? And if you're not following that line, if you're not accepting that guiding ideology or the one that the theory that the party's putting out, then you're at odds with the rest of the party, right? But when you're just parroting Marxism-Leninism as a catechism, you have no judge. You have nothing to judge what your actual actions are anymore. You're just being a dogmatist, a bogus Marxist. I mean, that could be a good thing, Grom. I also asked them what, good and bad, asked them what their position on. They said they don't have anything specific written on it. See, that part makes me go, ugh. Fucking write something? I mean, I get it. It takes time, but still, like, how about, like, even something like the struggle for transgender rights is the struggle for liberation of all. you know? But yeah, thank fuck for the youth. But it should not take a very long time for a party to put that in there, especially in the West, right? When these struggles are heightened. It should not take long for a party to put that correctly in their thing. And this is one problem I have with the KKE. I'm not saying about good work that I know KKE does. I don't know if Dimitri's in here or not. Where are you, Dimitri? We're talking about the KKE here. But my huge problem with the KKE is that it does this, right? And it gets stuck in the old fucking theories and philosophies, and then even like it just like hasn't put out any line on that at all. And what you end up seeing as a result of it not putting out any line on that is you actually see like confusion within the ranks of KKE. Well, where some party members absolutely are convinced that the party upholds same sentiment. And this is why you have people in the party who are convinced that it is on the right side of trans rights, in the sense that they are correct, like going in the correct progressive direction on it. And then you have other ones who realize that it's not and are vehemently militant about it not doing that, right? These are their two like flavors of people you have there as a result of this. And it's because KKE as their central body has never actually put forward a fucking line that actually like clarifies their position. So it's left up to the interpretation of its members who are trying to like who are trying to uphold like the party line or whatever, right? But yeah, KKE. To say that. And I know I get that they have international meetings and invite lots of communist parties from all over the world, and that's great. But KKE has some things that need changing. Yeah, something to push for. That's what it is, right? Definitely for the KKE though, because I mean, again, they're probably better than most of our parties around here. Yeah, and I mean, don't let this size discourage you, right, Grom? That's the thing. What matters most is what that party's ideology is. If that party has the correct, or at least the most scientific, the most correct guiding ideology, then it's the one that's going to eventually, if we follow like the law of Juche and stuff, that's the one that's going to win the support of the masses. Because the one that's incorrect or is eventually going to be proven to be incorrect through the course of time. One being bigger doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? As we know. Take Korea. Korea is actually the perfect example. You had the much, much bigger Communist Party completely fucking paralyzed by flunkyism and dogmatism, like much like our parties in the West are. And then you had Kim Il-sung form the Down with Imperialism Union. And within a matter of like 10 years, they were essentially fighting militant struggle against Japanese imperialism, right? They were overthrowing it. And that was because Kim Il-sung realized this party is fucking totally paralyzed. It's not even worth working in it anymore. And he formed his own organization. And you know what happened? You know what happened when the DPRK was being established? You know what happened to the other communist party? It was unified. It was absorbed into the Workers' Party of Korea. It became the Workers' Party of Korea by it being formed with other parties. And basically because the Workers' Party of Korea had become so popular, they all these other parties, these socialist parties were like, yep, we'll form a single party with you because you clearly have been correct all this time. And that's what we need to do. And I mean the same thing with your parties that you're talking about over time, that's what could happen, right? Yeah, exactly. Hella gay Jamie. And that's what could happen with Grom's party that he's talking about, this smaller one, the SKP, right? Just through the sheer force of it being right and on the correct side of history, eventually it gets more and more support, and that other party, KP, suddenly it needs to more align behind behind what the SKP is doing if it wants to be relevant at all, right? If it wants to have any kind of relevancy or even legitimacy as a workers' organization, right? Boy, I went off on a large tangent there. I do want to finish this work. We're going to finish it right now, okay? I just went off on the longest ramble. Communism will be the leading ideology in Sweden. Communism. I like it. I like it. Yeah, I think you can do it, Grom. I've seen you spin some theory. But I just recommend also using the ideological leadership of any indigenous that are I don't know the history of Sweden or anything, but it's important to incorporate indigenous thinking. Just saying. Just saying. I don't know. Again, I don't know the history of Sweden. I do remember on my stream you were talking about there being more indigenous people in the northern part of Sweden, but there was still some, I think, all over, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. I don't know entirely the history. No, you should always incorporate that. They are north. Okay, you're not on stolen land. Got it, got it. Still should incorporate some indigenous thinking, though. Just saying. It's still good. Sammy, right. Sammy. That's right. See, I remember stuff sometimes when people tell me things. Just... Okay, chat. Okay, uphold communism, though. Okay, so now, let's finish this up, okay? We're almost at the end. We only got 10 pages left. 10 PDF pages. That's nothing. Free Sammy State would be cool as fuck. Yeah, it would. And I would say it's a necessity in the larger course of revolution. Eventually, it has to become a necessity, right? Oh, damn. Okay, okay. I just got... Oh, comrades, I just got a really good email here. Okay, nothing. I'm not gonna make, this isn't an official announcement just yet, okay? Hold on, let me just finish reading this. I just got a thing here. I just got a message from Silver Spook asking me if I would like to participate in an Indigenous folks talk about Thanksgiving soon. Okay, well now it's official because I actually just typed yes. I just typed yes, I would absolutely love to do that. So there you go. Leaping Larry looks like might be appearing on a Silver Spook stream very soon. There we go, comrades. I remember someone was saying about making that happen. Silver Spook just came to me instead. So there we go. That's awesome. There we go. We'll be talking about Thanksgiving and shit. Fuck yeah. Oh boy, that will be fun. Telling all of the... We'll tell all the stories about how we had to fucking bathe yous, right? We had to force settlers into the bath and bathe them. You did put it in the air. Sam, you put the idea in the air and now it's just out there. Everywhere. And there you go. Okay, I don't have it anymore. I wish I could... Where'd I put that meme? It's on my Facebook page. I'll find... Yeah. First Nations people, they had to teach settlers how to bathe. Okay, that's the meme. Haha, we taught settlers how to bathe. and it's funny. I put it a long time ago, like on here. Oh! I know where I can get it real quick, actually. Oh no, it's absolutely not a meme at all. I made a meme out of it though. I think it's on. Oh look, and I didn't. Why didn't I link that one Facebook page of mine? The British didn't like the Vikings because they were hot and bathed. Yep, it's true. Okay, I just gotta switch so that I'm not on my personal profile. Okay, there. I don't want to be. I don't want to be on my personal profile for this. Facebook Sebs is. I agree with you to a degree, but Cinnamon, do you know about? How do you know about that group, Cinnamon? Did you just see it on my screen or something? Yeah, Sam, I totally agree with you, Sebs. Sorry, I agree with you, Sebs. But there is one group that I will never leave, and that's called Settler Colonial Ideas. And it's literally just a group where all we do is make fun of fucking settler ideas constantly. And we're basically there is some there is some settlers in there who are allies, but they're all on a thin wire, right? Every single settler in there, they're allies, but they're all on a thin wire. One mistake and they're gone. we're there to make fun of, you know. But yeah, this is what this is indigenous people to settlers in 2023. 2024. I'll give it a year, okay? Indigenous people to you could I know it's hard to make out here, but this guy actually has the he actually has the Mohawk warrior flag on his hat there. This is the this was brought to me by someone in the future, okay? This was given to me by a future traveler. And this is the revolution 2024 colorized, when First Nations people have to teach whites how to bathe. Again, reteach them how to bathe. the Vikings just bathed once a week, so the bar wasn't even that high. And to be fair, they might have learned that when they came over here for a while, right, Grom? You don't know, a long time, like Vikings did land over in Newfoundland and actually part of this province as well. So you never know. No bedtimes, no bath times, no pauses. I pictured that scene in the 13th Warrior when all the Swedish people passed the same bowl of water around to wash your face, and motherfuckers were hawking loogies into it. Grom, maybe we taught you. We! Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. No, that's impossible. The creator definitely put us on this earth to teach Euros how to bathe and save the human species from the diseases that they were fucking riddled with. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? Shit. Damn, I did not mean to say that out loud. Oh wait, yes I did. That's the truth. That's the truth of the matter right there. Creator put indigenous people on this earth to stop the fucking disease of Euros. There you go. That's the truth. Yeah, exactly, NDC. Exactly. If it wasn't for the link having to be pinned there, I would have repinned that one. There is no lie, Sebs. That is the truth. I mean, it's a half joke in Native communities to say this, but it's a half joke because there is some truth to it. Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, all right. Let's finish this work and then we can keep fooling around. We're almost there, comrades. We got 10 pages left. Oh, that work? I feel like that doesn't work, right? Okay, anyway. The embodiment of the revolutionary mass line is the consistent policy of our party in its leadership of the revolution and construction. This is something that the USSR utterly failed to do at all. Just nothing in regards to this. They got so steeped in bureaucracy by the end that there was not even an attempt to do any sort of thing like a mass line or something. Settlers refusing to bath, anarchists refusing to bath. History does repeat itself. And see, this is why, and look, part of the reason why I don't call myself Marxist-Leninist, although, as you know, none of my positions contrast with actual Marxism-Leninism as long as you're not being a dogmatist. But I just call myself a communist because it's just like, just gonna leave it as like, boom. What do you want me to tell you about it? I'm for fucking a socialist state. Like, what do you want? You know? I can explain it to you in 2 seconds. That will tell you everything you can learn from just me saying Marxism-Leninism, right? I used to, though. I did used to. I called myself Marxist-Leninist for many, many, many years, even while studying Juche. Studying Juche, eventually, like, learning about the independent movements breaking out all over the world made me go, okay, I'll just call myself a communist, and maybe sometime in the future there will be a specific guiding ideology for my conditions and my situation, and I'll take on that name, like Gromunism, Gromunist, right? Something like that. The revolutionary mass line is a principle of activity based on the view that the driving force of the revolution and construction is the popular masses. Exactly, Cinnamon. The fundamental demand of a revolutionary mass line is to ensure that the popular masses hold the position of masters of the revolution and construction and fulfill their role as such. The Revolutionary Party, which represents the interests of the popular masses and serves them, must make the revolutionary mass line the fundamental principle of its activities and thoroughly implement the revolutionary mass line through the whole course of the struggle for socialism. If the revolutionary mass line is to be implemented thoroughly in the activities of the party, the method and style of work of officials should be improved steadily. The connection between the party and the masses is established by officials. And the masses' support for and trust in the party largely depend on the official's method and style of work. Hear that, Grom? Depends on you, bud. In socialist society, some ill-prepared officials may throw their weight about and act bureaucratically. Essentially, wielding power and acting bureaucratically is a ruling method of the old society for oppressing and exploiting the people. As experience shows, if officials abuse their power and resort to bureaucracy, it will cause the divorce of the party and the masses and may finally bring the party to ruin. To struggle uncompromisingly against the abuse of power and bureaucracy is important work which the socialist ruling party should not neglect for even a moment. Since the changes of generation take place in the ranks of cadres, and the proportion of officials who are not amply tempered in the revolution increases, we have continued to pay great attention to the elimination of outmoded work methods and styles. Under the slogan, "We serve the people," our party has guided all our officials to serve the people faithfully and strengthen their kindred relations with the popular masses. As a consequence, our officials have established the revolutionary work method and popular work style, whereby they defend the interests of the popular masses, go among them, and work in reliance on them. I'm gonna cry again. Share good time and bad with them, and lead the masses by setting them examples. Our people's strong support for and faith in our party is the fruition of its revolutionary mass line that it has implemented thoroughly in its activities, and of its unremitting efforts to ensure that officials establish the revolutionary work method and the popular work style. Whew, almost got me crying there again for a second. We must apply more thoroughly the Juche theory on the building of the party, whose validity and vitality have been demonstrated fully in practice, and thus constantly strengthen our party and complete the revolutionary cause of Juche under its leadership. Let me just fill up my water and then we'll do this last part. It's only a couple pages. Then you gotta read your Walter Rodney assignment? Okay. There's only a little bit left. Try not to get choked up thinking about the profundity of instilling the masses with revolutionary fervor challenge. Impossible. Yes. That's what happened to me just now. So, given what we read in chapter 1, which was the lessons of the overthrow of socialism in the USSR, are you seeing why all these conclusions were so important now that we just talked about in chapter 2 here? You see, like, the lessons and the solutions, right? I hope. From my understanding, NTC, they didn't. At least from everything I've gathered and from like oral histories and traditional histories, I tend to err on the side of no. Because of that. Because of I believe indigenous teachings. Generally. Wholesale. So I don't believe that was the case. I believe they did just leave. Anybody got any questions about chapter 2? Are you ready to finish this work? We got part 3 here, the internationalist unity and solidarity of revolutionary parties. Either shoot me a question or give me a 1 in chat when you're ready to move on. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so it looks like around the 22nd or so I'll be on Silver Spook stream, comrades. On the 22nd. Set your calendars. Strengthening international's unity and solidarity with revolutionary parties is an important demand for our party in discharging its national and internationalist duties. And one reason I'm revisiting this common opponent, by the way, is because I'm doing a new thing now. Every time I read on the stream, I'll show you what I'm doing, actually, right quick, before we finish this work. What I'm doing from now on, if you come to my channel here, go to my actual channel, and if you go to my videos here, yeah, look, I've started a new thing here. This is going to be my collections. All right here is going to be the readings, okay? So there's Socialism and Man in Cuba from Tuesday. That's the whole reading. So now each time we do a reading, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'll highlight it out, and then I'll add it to this readings playlist here, so that they're all right here on Twitch. You can come back, you can listen to them whenever. How about that? Okay, now to actually finish this. Strengthening the internationalist unity and solidarity with revolutionary parties is an important demand for our party in discharging its national and internationalist duties. Yeah, well, doing it on Twitch will allow me to easily do it on YouTube as well. Which means, chat, in the future, after we do some more reads, we might have to go back and do this one again. Okay? And the Stalin book. No, just kidding. The basic task for a revolutionary party is to provide independence for the popular masses. Their cause for independence is not only national, but also the common cause of humanity. And the struggle to realize the independence of the popular masses in each country is closely related to the struggle to make the whole world independent. An independent world is a world which is free from domination and subjugation, and intervention and pressure, and in which all countries and nations exercise complete sovereignty as masters of their destiny. With the promotion of global independence as favorable international climate is created for the independent development of all countries and nations. Meanwhile, victory in the struggle for the independence of the popular masses in each country reinforces the independent forces of the world, and thus accelerates global independence. In league with one another, the imperialist and reactionary forces of all shades are impeding the fulfillment of the independent cause of the popular masses, and the internationally united reactionary forces are challenging it. This makes it absolutely necessary for all the revolutionary parties and people aspiring after independence to unite and fight against them. The people of the world are joining the common struggle because they share the same goal and task of struggling for independence. People of the world advocating independence unite. This is the slogan to be held up by our people, by all the people of our era. If all the people advocating independence are to unite and wage a struggle, first of all, the internationalist unity and solidarity of the revolutionary parties, their hard core, should be strengthened. Strengthening the internationalist unity and solidarity in the fulfillment of the cause of independence for the popular masses is an important factor in its triumph. The struggle for the victory of this cause is now going through an ordeal. But if they strengthen their solidarity with one another, unite in a comradely manner, and fight on, the revolutionary parties of the world will be able to check and frustrate the counter-revolutionary offensive by the imperialists and reactionaries, who are opposed to independence, and to pave a way for victory. The internationalist unity and solidarity of revolutionary parties should be realized on the basis of the socialist idea. A revolutionary party that is devoid of the socialist idea is inconceivable. And unity and solidarity between the parties that are not based on the socialist idea cannot be called genuinely revolutionary unity and solidarity. Fire. Boom! That was fucking fire, that part. Sorry, wow. That was really well put. I just did not realize it until as I was reading it right there. The aim of strengthening the internationalist unity and solidarity is not self-serving. It is to achieve, in a combined effort, the common cause of socialism. It is a bounden duty for revolutionary parties to unite firmly on the basis of the socialist idea. The Pyongyang Declaration reflects a firm determination to defend and promote the cause of socialism. Its publication is of epochal significance in strengthening the international unity and solidarity of the revolutionary parties and in promoting the socialist cause. The Pyongyang Declaration has affirmed that socialism is the ideal of mankind, and that socialist society is a society which represents the future of mankind, and a genuine society for the people. Although the socialist idea is the ideology of the working class, it does not represent the interests of one class alone. It is a universal idea for humanity, which reflects the social nature of human beings. Socialism is not only an idea for class emancipation, but also an idea for national and human liberation, which reflects the desire for independence of all nations and the whole of humanity. Only when they advance along the road of socialism, where the popular masses are the masters of everything, and everything serves them, can all the people lead a free, equitable, and dignified life that is suited to the independent nature of human beings, and can all countries and nations free themselves from domination and subjugation, achieve independent development, and ensure lasting peace and security in the world, thus guaranteeing the survival and progress of humanity. By confirming the veracity and validity of the cause of socialism and the inevitability of its final victory, the Pyongyang Declaration is infusing the revolutionary people of the world who aspire after independence with confidence in victory, and a revolutionary fighting spirit, while representing a serious setback for the imperialists and reactionaries who are waging a frantic anti-socialist campaign talking about the end, quote-unquote, of socialism. The fact that well over 100 parties have signed the Pyongyang Declaration, and that the revolutionary people around the world are responding to it, proves irrefutably that the socialist idea contained in the Pyongyang Declaration reflects the desires and aspirations of progressive humanity. The revolutionary parties will be able to strengthen their internationalist unity and solidarity based on the common idea, and dynamically promote the cause of socialism when they wage a struggle with the Pyongyang Declaration as their common fighting program. The internationalist unity and solidarity of the revolutionary parties must be achieved on the basis of independence. This part is so important because I still see communists, especially in the West, who go like, what we need is a new Comintern. No. There is no need to establish an international center of leadership, since each country is conducting the revolution under different circumstances and conditions, and the party of each country is acting independently. The revolutionary parties will achieve genuinely internationalist unity only when they establish comradely unity, on the basis of independence and equality, instead of a relationship in which one is higher and the other lower, and one dictates and the other is dictated to. It is impermissible in the relationship for revolutionary parties to interfere in the affairs of others and to force their opinions on others, contrary to the principles of independence and internationalism. It is an urgent common task facing the revolutionary parties at present is to defend socialism from the counter-revolutionary offensive of the imperialists and reactionaries. The imperialists and reactionaries are now engaged in vicious maneuvers against socialism, but they are destined to be a failure. The revolutionary parties and people the world over are turning out in a new struggle, overcoming the temporary confusion. It is inevitable for the masses of people to fight against a force if it represses their independence. And the cause of socialism emerges victorious through this struggle. This is a law governing historical development. The imperialists are now behaving arrogantly, but they are in a serious crisis. As the monopolies grow, the reactionary, anti-popular character of modern imperialism becomes more evident, and the discontent of working people with the corrupt and ailing capitalist society grows as the days go by. The desire to build an independent new world under the ideal of independence, peace, and friendship is becoming more intense among the progressive people of the world. Although socialism is undergoing an ordeal, these people can change a disadvantaged situation into a favorable one, and turn misfortune into a blessing, if they counter the counter-revolutionary offensive of the imperialists and reactionaries with a revolutionary offensive, full of confidence and victory. Now that the imperialists and reactionaries are concentrating the spearhead of their attack on the socialist countries, which are faithful to revolutionary principles, it is very important for all the revolutionary parties and people to unite and strengthen their internationalist support for solidarity with the socialist countries. Frustrating the criminal maneuvers of the imperialists and reactionaries to isolate, blockade, and invade the socialist countries is a common, urgent task for the revolutionary parties and people in their struggle to safeguard socialism. The imperialists and reactionaries are resorting to every manner of trickery to prevent socialism from reviving in the former socialist countries. This is a scheme to bring the people of these countries under the yoke of domination and subjugation forever. A catastrophic crisis has been created in the countries where capitalism has revived, owing to the criminal moves of imperialists and reactionaries. The crisis these countries are now faced with is not a crisis of socialism, but a crisis of revived capitalism. And it shows the irrelevance of the idea of bourgeois revival. The resurgence of socialism is the only way out of the political, economic, ideological, and moral confusion and crisis, which are becoming more serious with every passing day in the countries where capitalism has revived. The imperialists are resorting to every conceivable heinous plot to hold in check the advance towards socialism of the people of those countries, which were subjected to national oppression and exploitation in the past, and which have now embarked on the building of a new society. This is aimed at preventing them from taking the road of independence. Fighting against the imperialist moves for trampling down their rights to independence and for strengthening neo-colonial exploitation and plunder of them is an important link in the whole chain of the common struggle for socialism. In the developed capitalist countries, bipolarization, the rich getting ever richer and the poor getting ever poorer, is intensifying, and confrontation is growing, with the social evil becoming more serious owing to the strengthening of monopolies. Accordingly, the oppressed working masses are turning out in a struggle, lifting up their voices calling for the rights to existence, democracy, and independence. The victorious advance of the common cause of socialism will be further accelerated when the revolutionary parties and peoples give active support and encouragement to those parties and peoples that are waging an undaunted struggle for socialism under various circumstances and conditions. It is an important task for the revolutionary parties to form a united front with the democratic political parties and organizations in the struggle to accomplish the cause of socialism. In the implementation of the socialist ideal of opposing exploitation and oppression and realizing the independence of the popular masses, the revolutionary parties and democratic parties and organizations share similar demand and interests. The socialist cause will be promoted if the revolutionary parties strengthen their unity with all the democratic parties and organizations and cooperate with them actively on the principle of mutual respect in the joint struggle for the independence of the popular masses, opposition to exploitation and oppression. If the independence of the popular masses is to be realized, a dynamic anti-imperialist struggle should be launched. The main target of the struggle to defend socialism and achieve global independence is the US and other imperialist reactionary forces. Taking advantage of the destruction of the balance of power in the international arena, the modern imperialists are scheming more viciously than ever before to realize world domination by use of force. Without a struggle against imperialism, it is impossible to realize the aspirations to and desire for independence of the progressive peoples of the world, who are opposed to domination and subjugation and aggression and war. Struggling against imperialist domination and subjugation and aggression and war is a natural demand of the cause for independence of the popular masses. And compromising with the imperialist policy of domination is the betrayal of their cause of independence. To maintain a principled stand against imperialism is the bounden duty of revolutionary parties. The revolutionary parties and progressive forces will be able to check and frustrate the imperialist moves for aggression and war if they regard the struggle against imperialism as their common duty and fight resolutely against it. The driving force of the struggle to make the whole world independent is the combined anti-imperialist independent forces. The anti-imperialist independent forces must unite so as to put an end to domination and subordination, and interference and pressure by the imperialists. To establish a fair international order based on independence. To eliminate aggression and war, and to ensure world peace and security. The imperialists are using all sorts of crafty maneuvers to divide the anti-imperialists, independent forces, and set them at variance with one another. The anti-imperialist independent forces can frustrate the imperialist maneuvers for division and alienation, and emerge victorious only when they counter their schemes with the strategy of unity. The anti-imperialist independent forces can unite, transcending differences in social systems, political views, ideas, religious beliefs, nations, and races, because they have a common desire for independence, peace, and friendship. Should all the anti-imperialist independent forces, including the socialist countries, the international communist and working class movements, the national liberation movement, the non-aligned movement, and the world peace movement, unite in the struggle, they can put an end to imperialist domination and interference and build an independent new world. The cause of independence, the cause of socialism, of the popular masses is a sacred one for making the ideal of humanity a reality. To unite and struggle for the victory of the cause of independence, the cause of socialism, of the popular masses is the Revolutionary Party's honorable duty, to history and their people. The current complex and difficult situation makes it necessary for the revolutionary parties to fight resolutely in firm unity, filled with a conviction in victory and an undeflageable revolutionary spirit. Our party will, as ever, unite firmly and cooperate actively with revolutionary parties across the world for the victory of the cause of independence, the cause of socialism, of the popular masses, and will discharge its noble mission and responsibility for the Korean Revolution and the World Revolution. The end. There's fundamentals of revolutionary party building down. What did we all think? Was that a good work, or was that a good work? Classic. It's a classic, right? I feel like we need to like hear something now. One of your favorites so far? Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I was gonna say we could like get an audience cheer